Have you ever had to outsmart a neighbor who pushed things too far? I never imagined a simple parking spot could turn into the final straw in a long streak of strange problems with the neighbors next door. My family has lived on this street in Southern California for nearly 20 years without ever having issues. We've always gotten along with everyone. Then a new family moved in, and little by little things changed. It started with their dogs. Our dogs stay indoors most of the day because of the heat. Their dogs live outside and spend an unbelievable amount of time trying to get through the wooden fence that separates our yards. Whenever I let my dogs outside for a few minutes, their dogs would dig, push, scratch, anything to get through. My dad filled the holes until one day their dog managed to create a large opening in the fence, big enough to stick its entire face through. We checked our cameras and saw exactly how it happened. Trying to be fair, my dad walked over to talk to them and offered to split the cost to repair the fence since it sits on the shared property line. The neighbor's wife, whom I'll call Sally, immediately insisted our dogs caused the damage. Even when my dad mentioned the video, she refused to believe it and demanded we pay for everything. After going back and forth with no progress, my dad gave up and patched the fence himself. We thought that would be the end of it. A few days later, after one of their late-night parties led to another noise complaint, Sally confronted my mom in our driveway. She claimed my mom had yelled at their lawn service guy early in the morning. My mom had never spoken to him. The next time he came by, she asked him directly, and he confirmed they had never talked. Sally saw this and rushed outside to confront her again. At this point, it became obvious that Sally created issues out of nothing. The next problem was the parking. My family has 3 cars, 2 in the driveway, 1 on the curb in front of our house. The neighbors also have 2 cars, but instead of using their driveway, they started parking both of theirs along the curb that spans the fronts of our houses. The curb is only long enough for 2 cars total, so their decision forced us to park down the street. It wasn't pleasant, and after a while, my parents started doing the same thing back. Every time they left, my parents moved our car into the open spot. When the neighbors came home, they tried to reclaim it. This small battle went on for months until everyone silently stopped. Things finally returned to normal. Then I accidentally restarted everything. One night I came home exhausted, parked on the curb without paying attention, and centered the car between both houses instead of on our half. It was late, dark, and honestly, I didn't think it mattered. The neighbors had a completely empty driveway. The next morning, I woke up to hear my parents talking about how one of the neighbors' cars was now parked with part of the hood extending into our driveway space. They had parked so close that backing out of our driveway risked scraping their bumper. It was clear they were trying to send a message, and I was the one who had triggered it. I walked over and rang their doorbell. The husband, let's call him Greg, opened the door while recording me like I was about to start trouble despite being half his height and barely awake. I calmly explained that we needed space to safely get our car out and asked if he could move his. He said he didn't have to because it was a public street. I told him we only wanted to avoid hitting his car by accident. He brushed it off, claiming we had enough room. After a few minutes of him refusing to budge, I realized the conversation wasn't going anywhere, so I left. Inside, I checked the laws just to be sure, and as expected, blocking any portion of a driveway is illegal. I didn't call anyone though. Instead, I grabbed my keys, walked outside, and carefully backed our 3rd car out until my rear bumper sat only inches away from the front of Greg's car. He couldn't pull forward, and the curb behind him stopped him from backing up. Yes, my car blocked part of the sidewalk, but I already knew what the result would be. 2 days later, the police arrived. Greg had called them. The officer told me I couldn't block the sidewalk or prevent someone from leaving. I agreed immediately and said I would move my car. Then I pointed out that Greg's car had been blocking our driveway long before mine ever blocked anything. His bumper extended well past the legal limit. The officer turned to Greg and told him he also had to move his car. Greg looked stunned. He had to pull into his own driveway while I moved our car back into its original spot in front of our house. The curb finally returned to normal, and for the first time in a long while, everything felt peaceful again.